What? What was that? Hey, how's everybody doing? What the fuck's going on? This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Blue Apron. Blue Apron is our newest sponsor, and it's a very exciting one. Blue Apron is a way that you can get food delivered to your house with recipes to cook. All the fresh ingredients delivered to your house. You don't have to shop. You don't have to do shit. They send it in a cooler. Here's how it works. For $9.99 per meal, they send you all the ingredients in the exact right proportions with simple recipe instructions right to your door. It's awesome. I've tried it a couple of times now. It's great. The meals are 500 to 700 calories per serving, which is pretty low for how delicious they are. And there's a bunch of different options, too. You can get a bunch of different things that Blue Apron provides, like I'll read you off a list of stuff. Asparagus and spring onion tart, beet and barley risotto, orange glazed chicken drumsticks. And it's kind of cool because you do it all yourself. It's like a little project. Moroccan beef tangine. I hope I'm saying that right. 5-spice hanger steaks. Like really good food. And you don't have to do any of the shopping. You don't have to do any of the nonsense. It's all delivered to your house. It's fucking kick-ass. I really enjoy this. I'm gonna cook some of this shit up tonight, too. End the stress of cooking, ladies and gentlemen. Go to blueapron.com/Rogan and get your first 2 meals for free. That's right. 2 meals for just going to blueapron.com/Rogan. You'll cook incredible meals and be blown away by the quality and the freshness. Blue Apron. Fast, fresh, and affordable. I'm very happy with this product. I think it's an excellent idea. I think it's amazing that nobody ever came up with it before, but I'm glad these guys did. The way they put it together is really well done, too. They've obviously planned this out and put a lot of thought into it. The directions are super easy to follow, and they have pictures. Like, you don't have to, like, think things through like a dummy like me. What was that? Interesting. Anyway, cooking's a pain in the dick, and this takes a lot of the pain out of it. Go to blueapron.com/Rogan and get your first 2 meals for free, ladies and gentlemen. We're also brought to you by Ting. Ting is a mobile service provider that uses the Sprint backbone. And what they do is they rent time on the Sprint backbone, but they do it all by their rules. No early termination fees, no cancellation fees, no... You know how you pay, like, overage fees? They cut all that stupid shit out. You know, like, most times you, like, pay, like, oh, you get 120 minutes per month. Well, if you don't use the 120 minutes per month, what happens? They don't give you any money back. And if you use it over 120 minutes per month, you get penalized. Well, Ting cut all that nonsense out, and what they do is they just charge you for what you use. That's it. And that's how it should be. And if you're a heavy user, you can save a fuckload of money that way. They've also slashed their prices. They did it at the 2-year mark when they celebrated their 2-year anniversary for no reason other than just they could. They got better deals. They said, you know what, we're going to pass these deals on to the customers. 98% of people would save money on Ting, especially people who are power users. If you're online sending dick pics all throughout the land, if you're one of those motherfuckers, Ting is your... Jim Norton, I'm looking at you. Jim... What? Ting is your mobile service provider, ladies and gentlemen. $21 is the average monthly bill per device for Ting customers. And they have some kick-ass phones. Also, when you buy a phone from Ting, you own that shit. And you can get some cheap-ass phones, too. You can get an LG Optimus for $42, and it's done. It's yours. You own that fucker. You can get flip phones. They have a Samsung M400 if you're one of those contrarian assholes that likes those flip phones. I don't even use email, man. Those fuckheads. You can get one of those for $72. Or you can get the top-of-the-line Android phones, like the Samsung Galaxy S5. They have that. If you're kind of a little bit of a cheapskate, you can get the Samsung Galaxy S4. Be one of those guys. You can get the HTC One M8. They have that. They have the Galaxy Note 3. They have a lot of killer Android phones, including iPhone 5 for just $331. Come on, folks. How you going to go wrong there? It's an awesome company with great ethics behind it and nothing but positive feedback from all of the customers. Everybody that's used Ting that I've referred to has said they've saved money, they really enjoy the service, they enjoy the company, and it's a good relationship. They like the relationship that they get. You know, when a company like feels like they're giving you a good deal, it feels good to be involved with them. And that's how I feel about Ting. Go to rogan.ting.com and get $25 off of your first Android device. That is the official cell phone provider of this podcast. It's what I use for the show. For when I give the number out to people and people call in, and when we set things up, everything's done through the Ting phone. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Rogan.ting.com. Save yourself $25. We're also brought to you by Onnit.com. That's ONNIT. A human optimization website. We sell strength and conditioning equipment. We sell supplements. We sell foods. Foods? What kind of food? Why, God, googly moogly. We just started carrying Onnit coffee. This is made for us by Caveman Coffee. It is a single estate coffee, which means it's made and produced in one place and then sold to us. They roast it, they pick it, they do the whole jammy. And Caveman Coffee, which is owned by our buddy Tate Fletcher and Keith Jardine, two excellent human beings. And we have our own blend. It's a Colombian amber blend, handcrafted by Caveman Coffee. Handcrafted, a term I fucking deeply despise. I'm getting really sick of seeing handcrafted beverages, like handcrafted cocktails, a handcrafted burger. Fuck you. Just shut up with your handcrafted. Anyway, our handcrafted coffee is awesome. Did I mention that? Go to Onnit.com. That's ONNIT. Get yourself some kettlebells. Get yourself in shape. And use the code word Rogan. Save 10% off any and all supplements. Why fuck around, ladies and gentlemen? Young Jim Norton is here. And we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty. Gritty.
Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day. Joe Rogan Podcast by night. All day.
What a week young Jim Norton has had. What a week.
Yes.
What a week Sirius Satellite Radio has had. What a week censorship has had. What a week Anthony Cumia has had. What a week all the people online that love to bitch and piss and moan and complain and get very excited when something fucked up goes down.
Yeah.
Well, something fucked up went down. If you're listening to this, if it's sometime in the future, because these recordings will be saved forever. Today's date is July 17th, 2014. Approximately a week ago, Anthony Cumia was taking photographs. Anthony of the Opie and Anthony Show, which our pal Jim Norton is also part of, he was downtown in New York taking some photographs, and from there on, it's a bunch of, what he says, and what I'm sure the woman who beat the shit out of him would have a different story, but he was taking some photographs. One of the photographs was of this, what are those things called? When you, those things where you walk
Scaffolding?
Scaffolding. He was walking through the scaffolding. A woman was coming towards him. It looked like he was just taking a bunch of cool photos of New York. There's a bunch of them that he put up on his Instagram. Yeah. Anyway, this woman got upset that he was taking a photo of her, probably thought that he was perving, got mad at him, violence ensued, she hit him, and he went on Twitter and went on this rant about violence, about the black community and their propensity for violence, about this woman calling her an animal, which she did, and Sirius fired him, and which left a fucking huge hole in my entertainment world. The Opie and Anthony Show is my all-time favorite radio show. I listen to it all the time, and now all of a sudden it is no more.
Yeah, it's it's a huge hole too. Like no one panicked like me because Opie and Anthony both have kind of fuck you money. Jim Norton doesn't. So selfishly thinking, I'm like, well, there goes everything because the show's done.
Well, you're always going to be great because you're a funny comic and you can always work and you never have to worry about that. But it is a crazy thing that all of a sudden like that for things that he said on the show 100 times.
I think what happened was he tweeted, I talked to him multiple times since then. He was walking, and people don't believe that he was actually taking legitimate New York photos. That was one of the points of contention. People he was being creepy, but he really wasn't. Like, Anthony has had this giant Hubble-like camera in the studio every day for probably 6 months now. He's getting into photography. It's what he's been doing. So that was not unusual at all to hear he was out and about taking photos. That's legit. And I guess this woman got angry. And I talked to him, and he said that she just said something like, this white boy's taking my picture, you white motherfucker, whatever she said. She clocked him, and he kept defending himself. And as he's putting his arms up, she is going, don't touch me. Like, that thing that a woman might do to prevent you from hitting her? And you could see how frightening that would be, because then people think you're beating on this woman.
Right.
So he's putting his hand up. And, I know Ant well enough to know he's not going to just punch a woman in the face. So she's doing that, and I think a few black guys came around, and they didn't do anything to Ant, but they were like, don't touch her. So, Ant, who is always armed, and he's licensed to carry, didn't hit her, didn't pull out his pistol, and went home, and I guess was really upset, and went out on, like you said, a Twitter rampage. And I knew it was bad the next morning when I saw it, because my ex-girlfriend called me, and she's like, "What happened with Anthony? He got beat up by a woman?" I'm like, "I don't know." So I looked, and I saw the tweets. I'm like, "Oh." I actually texted him about one. I don't think I've ever done that before. There was one that I texted him about. I'm like, "Was that you all right, man? Is that?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I'm like, "Okay." It was scary.
Wow. Yeah, the thing about Ant is he's developed this sort of style of communicating on the show where he goes on these long, hilarious, entertaining, profanity-filled rants. And there's one thing about hearing it, but there's another thing of like seeing it in a text form. It's just not the same.
Things don't look good in print. Certain things, and I think what happened is in the middle of, like, when you have a contextual conversation, it's like you have people, there's inflection, there's another guy next to you going, "Well, hey, what do you mean by that?" And then you're clarifying it, or it's a different energy when you're tweeting and you're that mad. Like, I think like any type of an assault, even if it's a woman hitting you and it's not life threatening, is still like, an hour later, you're like, "What the fuck just happened?" Like, I think it just freaked him out.
And she hit him a couple times.
5 times or so. And she sent me pictures of his face, and he had like you could see that he had been struck. I mean, he wasn't making it up. And so he went on, and when I looked at the flow of things, like, I know Anthony, and I know what he's saying. He was not calling all black people animals. He wasn't, because he's never said that. He's talking about a behavior of this woman, and I think that what happened was he was so mad, and when you're tweeting that aggressively, and you're fucking dealing with this in your head, that sometimes things come out jumbled and muddied. And like, if you know Ant, you know what he's saying. People who don't know him are reading this going, "What does he mean? He's saying that there's violence in black people and they're animal." Like, people are putting these pieces of a puzzle together and they're making a picture. And it was like, I know him well enough to know that in a conversation, if someone said, "Are you trying to say black people are animals?" He would go, "No, not at all. It's a behavioral based thing." You know what I mean? Because he said that about white people too. So, I mean, it was just one of those things where once it was in print, even in context, we lie as a country. Like, like when Cancel Colbert came out, the activist knew the context that he was making those Asian jokes in and didn't give a fuck. She still wanted to sink him. She's like, no, I get it. He was trying to, show the difference between the same thing between this and Native Americans and how ridiculous it is, but I don't care. So we've gotten to a point now where we don't even pretend to not understand the context anymore. We admit that we understand the context and we go after people anyway. So something like this is bound to sink you, because it can be taken both ways unless you actually sit there and talk to the guy. And each tweet has to come out like a film. Each tweet has to be a beginning, middle, and end with no explanation needed around it in order to be survivable. If that makes sense.
Well, you know what? The big key to what you said, that it could sink you. Well, it only sinks you if you work for a company. And in my opinion, that's unnecessary.
Yeah.
In this day and age, it's unnecessary. And I think you guys, and I think Anthony for sure, would be far better off with a podcast. Anybody can get a podcast and put it on their phone now. Everybody's phone has a little jack that sticks into your car, and you play your phone through your car. Everybody has that now. I mean, it's not an uncommon thing. It's more common to have that jack than it is to have satellite radio. Most people have to get a satellite radio thing installed in their car. Most people already have that jack.
Right.
It's so goddamn easy. And I bet you could get all the same sponsors. I bet you could get all the same sponsors, and you would have no middleman. And look at the studio. It doesn't take much to put something together. A little bit of time, a little bit of effort. You got to know someone who's an engineer, know someone who knows how to put the stuff together and set up the microphones. But other than that, what's the difference between this and satellite radio? Right. I'll tell you what the difference is. Nobody can fucking fire you. You can go on some cunt rampage, that fucking animal cunt, and no one, people might say, "I'm not downloading your podcast anymore."
Right.
But at least you have the opportunity to communicate.